to start the show. Shani, you know we're gonna talk. Ordinary people and next an ordinary God. Check the reference in Ephesians 5. We walking in the light and we're living in love. You know what, Shani, we gon' keep it intact. Cause every Monday got it coming. Yeah, we coming right back. So act like you know we get it on and poppin' at the Shani Show. You can talk to Shani anytime. It doesn't matter day or night. We give you your light and love. We're coming on without a doubt. There's nothing you can talk about with Shani. Welcome to another episode of the Sharing with Shani Show. I am your host, Shani. We have Mika fresh in the building. We have some background noise in the building. I'm just going to ask all my little engineers to go on mute because it is Monday night. I don't understand why. Like, I couldn't even do it. And I don't even have my video on.
I was like, turn on your video.
I mean, like, we got 3 shows left. Shows left.
It's Monday.
3 shows left, people. Get it together. We still got the background music on. I don't know. So, Mika, how are you tonight?
I'm making it. I'm here. I am here. It was my little girl broke a bone in her hand on Thursday. Well, we found out on Friday. So like she fell and she came in like, Mommy, I fell and I hurt my hand. And I was like, okay. And I looked at it and, it looked fine, but I put some ice on it. And like, give her like 3 hours later, it was swollen. And I was like, ooh, all right, let's put the ice back on it. And then like I took the ice off and it was even more swollen. I was like, can you move it? She could move it and everything, so I was like, maybe it was just a bad fall. But on Friday when she woke up, she was still saying that it was hurting. I think she woke up once in the middle of the morning saying that, my pinky hurt. So anyway, we took her in and it's not 100% confirmed that it is a break, but whatever it is, it's right next to her growth plate. So we go to the orthopedist tomorrow. Now, I haven't had any type of anxiety or anything yet. I don't plan to, but it's funny because I'm like, I'm real calm. Will it stay that way? Will it stay that way? She's driving me crazy because, they have a splint on. So they gave her like a temporary cast. Whatever they did, they warm it up in the microwave and they put it on and it gets hard as it dries. So it's like this hard thing to just keep her hand stabilized, and then it's wrapped with an ace bandage and she has a sling. She's supposed to keep it dry. And I was like, she's 7. And he was like, yeah, keep her hand still as much as possible. And I was like, she's 7. Keep her still and keep it elevated. Did y'all hear me? She's 7. So that's how my weekend went. And then it was a weekend full of graduations. Yeah. Hot graduations outside.
Did you have to go to any?
My little brother graduated.
Oh, that's
last of the tribe.
College?
High school.
Nice.
Yep. So family, I got to see some of my beautiful family. I love family. I'm pretty sure y'all probably figured out by now I'm extremely family oriented, and I got to see my great aunt and my cousin, and that's always wonderful and beautiful. And so busy but productive, nice weekend. And today at work was like, welcome back to Monday. I was on the phone all day. I gotta find something to do in my off time that doesn't require talking.
Right.
That would be nice if I could just shut up for like 24 hours. Being a helper is a lot.
It's funny you say that because I know I talk a lot too. Mm-hmm. And when I talk too much, the voice goes.
Oh, does it?
Oh, yeah.
I just get sick of, hey, I just noticed like our glasses, we kind of matching today. We kind of matching today. Yeah. I just get sick of hearing my voice though. I yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. I'm glad to be here though. I'm glad it's after 8 and we sharing our mess per usual for Monday night, right? That's where I get to get it all out.
We get it all out, and then and I am grateful for this show.
Yeah. Me
For
too.
on so many levels, right? But mainly when I have had a stressful Monday, like I look forward to, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this is gonna fill my cup.
Okay.
And even, and I set that expectation that I never know where the conversation is going to go,
right,
how it's going to end, how, most of the time, like the special guest is the first time I've ever saw them, like,
right, yeah,
or talked to them or anything. So I'm always anxious on, how that's going to go. And then if what we're going to talk about with them connects to the Wellness Whisper, I love when it is all connected. I'm like, oh, that was a God moment there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of those on the show, which is
Yes.
I really enjoy that. It's wonderful to just kind of watch how it all unfolds. And like, I think it was two guests ago. Not so it was Brittany, and then before her was Tamika. I think it was before Tamika. It was somebody. They all kind of just blurred, I don't mean any offense to anybody. Everybody is great. But I remember the things that she was saying, I was like, oh, that's the whisper for today.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that's the sermon for all week. It was like every single point was just, it was speaking to me. So I love those moments. Yeah. I really do. I love those moments.
Definitely. Oh.
So how was your week?
My week?
Yeah.
So my week was good. Got the book coming out, so trying to work.
I'm excited. Yeah.
And I like, listen, I don't want to share too much because got the limited podcast that's coming up.
Yes.
On Wednesdays at 4 p.m. But I will say this. Everything that has happened up until this week, including today, is the book playing out.
Okay.
So I will do a shameless plug because it is my show. I'm gonna feel like Wendy Williams when she was plugging her little drama on Lifetime.
Yeah,
she was plugging the heck out of that today. But I'm like, but it is her show,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Right? So okay, so this is the book. So this is This is gonna be my new backdrop. Can y'all say? Oh, okay. I was like,
yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so I know this is like really bad. But so it's gonna go behind me probably next week.
You got a lot of keywords in there, Shani.
All right, so awkward silence, a guide for white ministry leaders on confronting anti-racism and microaggressions.
Yep.
So,
you're gonna be disrupting the narrative, as my shirt says.
Yes, yes, Yvette. Yes, that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing. And so Wisdom Wednesdays starts June 16th, which is also
that's next week, ain't it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
No, child.
Yeah, next week.
Wisdom Wednesdays starts next week. Oh, okay. I have 9 days.
Yeah, next week.
I was gonna do a 10-day countdown. I totally forgot.
I think this is your 10th day.
Throwing me off my game. Throwing me off my game. Huh?
This is your 10th day. 7,
yeah.
8, 9. Okay, 9.
I was supposed to start yesterday.
So do 7. Do a 7.
Yeah, I'll do a 7-day countdown. But my whole point to all of this is that I'm saying is that everything that is happening is playing out, which I already knew God told me to do this, but that's how I know that it's like confirmation that okay, my story has purpose. Everything that's my pain has purpose. Everything that is happening has purpose for such a time as this. And I'm excited and nervous. Pray for me.
Okay.
And pray for the white people.
Okay.
That God is going to send me.
Okay.
That sounds funny. Pray for the white people.
Mhm.
I mean, pray for all people,
Yeah.
but when you pray for
Again,
I
disrupt
get
the
it.
narrative.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Right.
Real quick. Did you watch Red Table Talk when they were addressing, the Asian hate?
I did not, and
Okay. Because
I'm
when you
not
said
even gonna
like pray
lie.
for the white people,
I'm not even gonna lie, yo.
that just popped in my head.
I feel like we've been Red Table Talk for years,
Oh, of course.
way before there was a Red Table Talk.
I know. It's all good.
And I'm just saying,
Yeah, it's all good.
I might be a little salty. I was watching.
Don't be salty.
I was watching it early on, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny because I have not watched Red Table Talk since Will came on there.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But I hear there's great episodes.
Yeah, I don't catch all of them. I was interested. I don't know, for some reason that one was on my timeline a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, the engagement for that particular episode was high because it actually showed up. And I just thought it was interesting. The whole topic, when we start talking about white supremacy and race relations, it's always, sensitivity, highly emotional, highly controversial. It's a lot. And so I was just interested to see someone else tackle it. And I was very curious to see how it was going to be tackled, right? Because we do a lot of eggshell walking.
I was going to be a little more direct and say we do a lot of toe stepping.
Okay. It's just, when we make provisions for racism and prejudice, amongst other minorities, it's all confusing to me. And because I don't see any place for it. But I will say this, I think out of the conversation, what I heard was, and Eric Dyson was there too. What I heard was like, we need to understand that there's a common enemy, right? Which is what? White supremacy. And if we can figure that out, we can move this needle so much faster.
Yeah.
And for me as a person that comes from a big city, some of this stuff, to see different minorities fight on this level, it's interesting to me because I got my own little small urban perspective. I mean, I've traveled and I've been a few different places, but just the culture shock from North New Jersey to Northern Virginia it still blows my mind. I'm just like, so we fight? I'm not used to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all collectively fight them, right? White supremacy. I just don't. But in this area, it's all about classism as well. So
yes,
that part right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you said pray for the white people, that's just kind of what popped in my mind because I remember when I saw the trailer, I was just like, ooh, let's pray for the the protagonist that's going to be on the show.
Yeah, I was, one of the shows, one of the celebrity shows that I do watch though is Taraji.
Taraji. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she has great accent. And really trying to normalize Black mental health, which I think is so necessary.
And I'm all for that, right? Exactly. That's all me right there.
Exactly. So yeah. Yvette, I'm sorry.
Yvette.
I keep
That's okay.
The name, child. It's not okay. Yvette D. McGill.
I actually like my new God-given name, Dick's Change, so you could just skip Yvette.
Let's talk about that. And let's talk, and I always tell people, full disclosure. So I forgive me, and if this is the bad host, okay. So in between little production assistants, so I am doing my own, I'm going back to basics where I gotta pull stuff. Okay. Right. And I do have a habit of pulling bios at like 7:52. Today, I pulled the bio at 7:59, and the link didn't work. And so, Yvette, girl,
fill us in.
I don't know how to introduce you, but I would like you to say the part of the bio that you wanted me to highlight, that I can't highlight because I couldn't read it, that you said was very important, and that you said people think it's a typo, and it's not. And I was like, oh no, we gonna highlight that. That will be highlighted today. But I know you're an author. I know you're a child of God. You said the exchange. You all over social media talking about the exchange. I want to hear all about that. So introduce yourself to the social media streets and my 4,900 people that know me.
Well, of course. Good evening to everyone. My government name, as they say, is Yvette Denise McGill. However, my social media name and the name that I feel like God gave me at this time and phase of life is The Exchange. And I'm a mother of two. I have a 33 and a 28-year-old daughter, two daughters. I have one awesome grandson that I love to talk about, Kai Douglas Edwards, and he's a part of my story. So you'll hear a little bit more about him later on. I'm a wife of 6 years, third time married. A little bit about that later as well.
We got to talk about that. I want to talk about being married the third time. That's right up my alley. Let's talk about that. Did you go on dating sites?
Huh?
Yvette, how did you find your husband? Did you find him in the church pew or on the dating site?
Well, it was on the church pew, but it was a little complicated. It actually is intertwined how I came about to be The Exchange.
Oh, okay.
If you want me to just jump on in there, I'd love to just tell you how I wound up being his wife and The Exchange, how they merged, and I think it was God sent. We 6 years under the belt, so we still trying to figure things out.
Okay. So, but how did the two merge together?
Okay, so basically 7 years ago, he approached me and actually approached me through a good friend who was a cousin of his, and said he needed to talk to me. We knew each other, and so I was like, "No, I can't do that." She was like, "Yeah, he just needs to tell you something." So I called, and he says, "I'm not trying to disrupt your life, but if that's really my daughter, you need to tell the truth. Now, as you close your mouth, I need you to walk with me through this story. So I'm gonna take you back." So I was 25 years old. God tells me, because I grew up in church, been knowing God a long time. 25 years old, and I'm out here to the point where I'm just kind of doing my thing, and I know God, but I feel like God wasn't there with me through my childhood. I had a very difficult childhood. And so God says, "Go to your mom and give her forgiveness." And I'm like, "Do what?" He was like, "Yeah, go and give her forgiveness." And so I tell people all the time, I've always been just obedient enough. So I do that. I go to my mom and I said, "I forgive you." And she looked at me as to say, "We're not going to have this conversation," because she never liked to talk about the past. And so I said, "I don't know why I'm doing this. I just know God told me to do it. And so I'm just trying to be obedient." And we just move on, and we have a decent adult relationship. She's an awesome grandmother. Everything she wasn't to me, she was to my girls. So move forward. 25 years later is where he comes back into the story, and he says, "If that's my daughter, you need to tell the truth." And God tells me, "You're strong enough now, Yvette. You're strong enough now." And so I tell my daughter, "I need to tell you something." And she says, "Well, I need to tell you something too." We were preparing to go on a trip with my girlfriend, which is her godmother, to Vegas for her birthday. So we said, when we get back from the trip, we're going to tell each other, okay? And she said, okay. Well, unfortunately, as we were going to the mall a few days before to get ready for the trip, she says, "Mom, I can't wait. We need to tell each other now, because I need to tell you now." And so I'm just like, okay, I really couldn't even imagine what it could be, because I mean, I had a wonderful experience raising my girls. I couldn't even think of what it was, because mine was so bad. So I'm driving and I say, "What if I told you your dad really isn't your dad?" And she bust out crying and she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, your dad really isn't your dad. And she said, well, who is my dad? And I said, you know, the man that just joined church, who I told you was my first boyfriend, the first person I ever had sex with, all of that stuff. And she said, yeah. I said, that's your dad. And she busted out crying and she said, I'm pregnant. And so, like I said, my grandson, you'll hear me talk about him a lot because every time I look at him, I'm always reminded that I wasn't strong enough to give the truth to my daughter, that generation. But God gave me the strength to give it to the next generation. And so my nickname for him is My Truth. I call him My Truth. Every time I look at him, I'm reminded that I now stand in my truth. So in me doing that, God told me that unfortunately it wasn't going to be a private journey. He has made me publicly talk about this. He made me write a book about it. Literally, I was in a classroom in Houston with darn, I keep forgetting their names. They're two famous authors, and I feel really bad. They're best friends. Y'all know them. They do a lot together. Victoria Murray and I can't think of her name. She's out of Houston. But anywho, they were doing a class in Houston. I paid for the class to learn how to write a book. God kept telling me I was going to write a book. While I'm in there, the room literally goes dark. And God says, you're going to write a book. You're going to name it The Exchange. And the reason why is because when you were 25 years old, I had you to go and give your mom forgiveness, knowing that 25 years later, you would need forgiveness. Had you not been obedient, and did what I told you to do, then I wouldn't have been able to bless you now. And so you're going to walk this earth. You're going to tell this story. I'm going to take you places you can't imagine. I'm going to allow you to meet people you would otherwise never encounter. But you must stand in your truth, Yvette. And I promise you guys, I've begged God to quietly tell this truth. But he knew that there were a lot of people who needed to hear from me.
Yes.
That book right there, that's not my first book, but that's my first baby. 700 copies I've literally sold. That book is not on Amazon. And that book has been sold by me doing situations like this, speaking engagements, platforms, but literally just from my mouth to people's ears, God told me, I prepared people who need to hear from you. And so maybe, and I'm stretching this maybe, 5 family members have bought my book. I've literally had family members to tell me, I had a particular family member to tell me, you had been lying, you should have kept lying. Why did you have to disrupt the family with the truth? And so the book, of course, is not just about me telling my daughter the truth. It's about my childhood. So I have family members who are upset about me telling the truth about how difficult my upbringing was with my mom. But I am the better. I'm here to disrupt the narrative because so many women come after I get off of the stage of speaking saying, thank you for telling your truth. I wish I could tell my truth. I've had men to inbox me and say, I need to know what in the world was in your book that sent my wife to bed crying, or what was in your book that had my wife on her knees praying for you. And so I read your book, and your book blessed me too. So exactly what God said he was going to do, he's done that and more. And I'm an author of 6 books, but I've only personally wrote 2. I've been a co-author of 4 other books. But when I tell you he's opened up doors and moved in ways that I could not have imagined, but I still am a tad bit embarrassed because of what I've had to send my daughter through to get to where I am today. We are the better though. Because let me tell you what God did with that. He had me to walk away from my corporate America job of 23 years, which I very much loved. Had me to pull out all my money, all of my retirement, all of my 401k and open up a daycare. When my husband I'm talking about asked me, he said, is there something you've always wanted to do? And I said, I've always wanted to own a daycare. And he said, well, why don't you do it? I said, well, I'm too old now. And I only like newborn babies. And he said, well, babe, you can't have a daycare with just newborn babies. Nobody gonna drop one baby over here and the other cheering over there. So you're gonna have to take the whole bunch. And so my daughter was actually teaching, and he said, why don't you ask her to join you? And of course, that was his way of trying to have a relationship with her too, by being the author of this idea. And so I did it. I prayed about it. God told me to do it. But it's funny. I know you all can share or relate to me when I tell you how God will give you an idea and you run with it, but you run in a direction that you think from your worldly perspective, and God got a whole nother agenda. So when I did that and opened a daycare, me and my husband talked about, we were going to have franchise of daycares. We could see ourselves moving and growing. God was just laughing. Literally, God had me in this business for 3 years.
So, Yvette, I just want to be clear because I got a whole visual in my head because I'm a storyteller. So you married your daughter's father?
Yes, ma'am. After he contacted me, and of course, we were having to talk a lot about, you know, having to tell the truth and how it was affecting our daughter and this and that. I've always loved him. He was my first boyfriend, first person I've had sex with. But I always loved him from a distance. I never disrespected my other marriage. I literally would see him maybe every like 3 times within those 25 years. I would see him, or I saw him one time at a mall, and I literally threw the clothes down and walked out. I was so afraid of being in contact with him. And then one time he actually caught me in a store and cornered me, and he asked my daughter, he said, "Do you know who I am?" And she was like 12 years old. She was like, "No." And he said, "Your mom never talked about me?" And she was like, "No." And I went home and I tried to have the conversation with her then. And she nutted up on me and I got scared and I said, "I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking." So I wasn't ready then, but at 25, I was ready. I was ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so, it came back full circle.
Yeah, we are together. We've been married 6 years. Some people are happy for us. Some people are not. It's interesting to say the least. I feel like God has to be in the midst of it because some interesting things have happened.
Wow.
But what I love about the story, if nothing else, if we were to divorce today, what I love about the story is my grandson knows this truth. He stands in the truth. He knows that me and my husband are his real grandparents. He knows that his other grandparents are still a part of his life. He has an option of walking and knowing the truth and knowing the value. Like I try to say in my book, I'm not trying to place blame on anyone, but I wasn't taught the value of not owning your truth. And so as a result of that, I have had to suffer the consequences and take a chance on not having a relationship with my daughter, but God being who he was, all I kept praying and asking him was not to destroy the relationship. He did better. He broke it down and then built it back up the way he would have it to be. We're closer now than I ever even had sense enough to ask God for. And that was a result of the daycare that I mentioned. He put us in that building for 3 years to have to go through every emotion that God could possibly give a human being. We cried together, we not spoke, we fussed, we prayed, everything. And my grandson was right there in the midst of it. And October of 2019, I clearly heard God say, "Mission accomplished." And I knew what he meant. It was time to close the doors. But I got afraid. Because I got comfortable with the babies. Remember, I told you I love newborns. I had these 2, the cutest newborns you'd ever want to meet. And I was attached to them. And then my daughter, I was like, what is she going to do for a job? God, I've had this girl to quit her job for 3 years. I mean, what's she going to do? So I didn't do anything. And so he started letting things happen to me. First of all, how I know that it was a spiritual assignment is he never let me prosper from the business. I made just enough to pay the rent, pay my daughter, do whatever I needed to do to make the daycare successful, but nothing else. There was no extra money for anything else. It was strictly a spiritual assignment from God that he wanted better. My family is known, especially females, for not talking, not speaking, falling out for years, coming to funerals and still not speaking. We are known for this. And God wanted something better for me and my generation, me and my daughters. And so, and then my middle daughter, I mean, my youngest daughter was stuck in the middle because she felt sorry for me as her mom. And then she felt sorry for her sister. So it was a God divine situation. And when I tell people, they be like, "Do you feel like God punished you?" No, because he could have did far worse as far as teaching me a lesson. Him having me to quit a job and open up a daycare, and now I have that experience under my belt and being able to be the grandmother to I have extra grandchildren now. Every child that went through my daycare almost, I have a relationship with their mother and the child still to this day. And so, you know, it was a win-win in my sight. If that's how he chose to teach me a lesson, I'm grateful. I'm real good.
Amen. So what do you mean when you said, so you wanted to talk about my truth for others' transformation? Can you share a little bit about what that looks like?
telling the truth. Like, as difficult as it's easy. I'm looking back, I'd even now give anything, as beautiful as this journey has been, I still would give anything to go back to that day, being 20 years old and telling the doggone truth. But nobody in my family, the women in my family, looked powerful in the living room. But they didn't show me what went on in the bedroom. They didn't show me begging the man to please make love to me after I didn't touched you out in front of the children in the living room, or clowned you at the family reunion, or or talked crazy to you in the restaurant. They didn't show. All they showed me was power in public, but they never showed me what went on in the bedroom. And so I emulated what I saw them do, but they didn't tell me what they really got in the bedroom. I had to experience that for myself. And so now, when I whine and complain, God told me, then you reach back, Yvette, you talk and tell the truth so that the generations behind you won't make the same mistakes you made, expecting better results. They'll know exactly what the choices are walking into whatever decision they make.
So why did you hide it? Like, what was it something about your husband?
Just, to be completely honest, when we went together in high school, of course, he was just a cute little boy. But by the time I reconnected with him, and I was actually in a relationship, and me and him just kind of hooked up, and to be completely honest, just hooked up one day, had sex, and never talked again. And he had started selling drugs, and that's not something I ever wanted for my child. That's not a life I ever wanted. He was not exclusive with having just one girlfriend. I ain't never been into sharing. I ain't never been into none of that. Very selfish when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so he says that he remembers me talking to him about that and telling him he needed to make a decision. And of course, he was living a life of a dope dealer. So he was just like, nah, I ain't gonna be able to promise you that. I don't remember the conversation, but he says that we had that conversation. So all I know is I've been selfish all my life in those regards. And so that hasn't changed. He changed, which is why he's in my life now. And so we just went on, and I just walked with the lie. Somebody told my sister-in-law from that guy that I was dating that I was pregnant. He called and said, hey, are you pregnant? Is it true? And I said, yeah. And he just knew he was my boyfriend. So, it really wasn't a conversation. Is the baby mine? Just kind of assumed, and I just kind of rolled with it because, again, I don't want to place blame, but at the same time, I never saw the cost of telling a lie in my family. I saw ways of getting around things. I saw people lie, but I saw them getting around it, but they never showed me the in-depth part of what they dealt with as a result of the lying, or not owning your truth, or not just being honest with who you are. I mean, like, I ain't the first person in my family to do this, but I'm the first one to tell the truth.
Amen. So, I mean, the truth will set us free, right?
Yeah. So much so that while I'm writing the book, God says, you're still not being completely honest with me. And I knew again what he meant. So the next phase was I had to get up. I was in this office where I'm talking to you right now, and I was writing The Exchange, that book you have with you. And I had to get up and go tell my husband I didn't have any hair. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I'm bald headed. I haven't had hair in 14 years. And he was like, so you didn't have no hair when we got together? And I was like, no. And he said, you didn't think you could tell me that? And I was like, no, like, I'm on my third marriage. I'm tired of giving my all and all, up front. I felt like I needed to hold something to myself just in case this didn't work out. And I hope you can appreciate my honesty, because that's just who I am. I just felt like this the third time. It's something wrong with my picture anyway. So just in case this don't work out, I want him giving my all to get another relationship. But God said, don't trust him, trust me. Amen. So I got up, like I said, and I had the conversation with him. And even then he was curious. He was like, well, let me see. No, sir, I'm not doing all that right now. So it took a couple of weeks, if not a month or so, before I would even let him see me bald. So what you see here today is a wig. And I tell people, because sometimes people will say, oh my God, I like you bald. Why do you cover it up? And I said, hey, I have options now. I wake up and I walk out the house however I feel. Sometimes I wear a hat. Sometimes I go bald. Sometimes I'm long. Sometimes I'm short. But I got options now. But I'm still walking in my truth. I just have options now.
Amen. So you have a master class right? You want, right, on transformation, Yvette, do you
Yes,
want to talk
ma'am.
about that?
Basically where I teach anger management. I've been teaching anger management, domestic violence, parenting, and theft classes since 2004. That was a part of my journey too in the book, where God had me to start this job, and it started out just making a little bit of extra money. A girlfriend called and knew that my mom had recently passed, and knew that my mom helped a lot with things that my girls were involved in, extracurricular activities. And so she said, I think you'll be great. And I'm like, girl, I need anger management. How I'm gonna teach somebody? But God being God, let me walk into the job, and the job wound up blessing me. Like, I immediately started implementing the things I was teaching. So as a result of that, I intertwined the part about me exchanging my truth for others' transformation, trying to teach people to tell the truth with my anger management and domestic violence classes. So I'm just trying to teach you, because a lot of times when my clients come to me, they're court orders. So what you're really coming to me about is not really what the source of your problem is. So I'm really good at digging deep and helping you to understand it. And most times, by the time you get to me, the reason why the court said you needed to come to me is not really the reason why you're sitting in front of me. So again, not to toot my own horn, but I eat, sleep, and breathe anger management. And so I did the master class just to intertwine my personal life and then the anger management and domestic violence part, because that I know is a gift from God. If I had to do it for free, I would, but thank God I don't have to.
Amen. And how do people get in contact with you? Where can they get the book? And I know you wrote a chapter in Cheryl's book. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm actually in 3 of Cheryl's books. I'm co-authored in 3. I fell in love with that lady the minute I met her. But you can find out everything you want to know about me, including my anger management classes, at www.Yvette, which is YVETTE, Denise, DENISE, McGill, MCGILL.com, my whole name. And in Cheryl's book, let me see, I think the first one was the affirmation, the prayer book. And I wrote a mother's plea, basically still talking about how God gave me enough sense early on, before he even prepared me to tell that truth. He gave me enough sense to pray at an early life when I was a young mother, to make up the difference where I fall short. And one of the places I would stay a little bit longer in that prayer was as a mother, because I knew that I was packing that life. I wasn't prepared to tell it, but I knew long ago I was packing it. So I would always ask God to make up the difference where I fall short, as a servant to you, God, as a mother to my children, as a wife to my husband. But I would stay a little bit longer in that area as a mother, because I had such a difficult childhood with my mother. It was important that I have a different perspective with my children. And he did that. I had an awesome time raising my girls. Wasn't perfect, but if I had to do it again, I would do it exactly how I did it, because it was a beautiful journey.
Mm-hmm. Amen. I'm gonna put the website in the chat, in the comments on Facebook. Mika, I just realized something.
Yeah, what's up?
We didn't do the recap of the wellness.
The whisper.
Oh.
Yvette said, oh. So, God, so last week, do you remember the whisper last week?
Yeah, it was sit back and watch the Creator.
Yes. How do you sit back and watch the Creator?
I get out of his way.
I stopped interviewing blessings.
Ooh. Okay. So, like, do you feel like you're an analytic when it comes to that? Is it uncertain? Right? Like, why are you interviewing? Are you just not sure?
Depends on what it is.
Okay.
It depends on what it is. Like, I have learned, like, in professional situations and ministry,
mm-hmm.
It's whatever. I'm like, whatever, God, whatever road you want to have me. In personal relationships, I'm interviewing all the time. God, okay. Are you sure?
Yeah, I hear you. For me personally, it's like,
did you pray for this?
Yeah.
Did I pray for? I did pray for that.
You forget your prayer.
You wrote it in your journal in 2017. It's just manifesting.
Do you have all your journals?
Huh?
You have all your journals accessible to you, like you can just kind of go and get them all, or they like spread out all over the
They're
place?
all over.
Okay, so it's not just me.
Are yours all over the place?
Yeah, and I don't even really have like journals. I just got
Tupperware.
notebooks.
I'm gonna tell you why I like it, okay?
Mhm.
Because I can find a journal. Look, yo, when I was moving to where I'm at now, I found like one of the first journals. So most people who are listening know my story, know that I lost a child. I went back to church, blah, blah, blah. But my church, so funny. My church used to do revivals every fall, right?
Okay.
2-day revival, right? It would always fall on my birthday. Always. So and if you know me, you know,
yes.
a birthday is lit, right? And so during this time of rediscovering and going back, I don't want to say going back to church. I really like to call that experience, I was reconnecting with Jesus, because I didn't know Jesus for myself. I thought I did, having grown up in church all my life, but I didn't know him as my personal Lord and Savior. I did not. That's real talk. I knew him as this Jesus that was, oh yeah, he died for my sins. But really taking into account of the ultimate sacrifice of what that is, today I ride for Jesus. Like Jesus is not, like, it's ride or die, right? 12 years ago, it was, Jesus. Jesus is dope.
Yeah, Jesus.
Right?
Yeah.
I know beef with Jesus. It was kind of like that, right?
So neutral. You were neutral with Jesus.
Come home with me.
Right? I was definitely lukewarm, right?
Okay.
So as a result, the first couple of years of having revival on your birthday, you be making decisions. You be like, but it's my birthday. Like,
right.
And I don't want to be on church on my birthday. I want to go to brunch. Like, right? Okay. So I remember, and it was so awesome because it was affirming. So my best friend, she was living in Colombia at the time.
Okay.
And she's like, what are you doing for your birthday? And I will admit that I kind of whispered. I was like, I'm going to be at church. Right? And I was like, and she's like, what? I was like, I'm going to church on my birthday. But that's where I felt I was drawn to it. But people around me were like, you going to church on your birthday? Like even my husband at the time was like, well, I ain't going to church, but it was my birthday, but he wasn't going to go with me, right? That's a whole other story. My best friend, Nicole, comes to the church on my birthday and gave me a journal for my birthday. And best gift ever and I used that journal for like at least 3 or 4 years. And I remember when I was moving here to this apartment, right after the breakup of my marriage and all of that. And there was a journal entry from 2010 that said, I'm going to write books and be a thought leader and change hearts. And I read that at a time where I didn't think that I had anything to give, anything more to give. Like I just was second guessing every decision that I had made.
Yeah. And
I read that and it just gave me the inspiration to keep going. Okay. So yeah, journals, there are journals all over the house. They're not organized in the least. Yeah.
I love how I'm able to read. I love reading back and seeing who I was back then in my mindset and how I've grown. And actually, in the exchange, I talk about how I opened up a box of journals in my garage and just began to cry for the person who wrote that. It was almost like I didn't know her. I had not been her in such a long time. I had grown, thankfully, until I wept for her because I was like, my God, I mean, I literally used to pray and ask God to please let me die every day. Like I was going to church married with 2 children and please still begging God to not let me wake up the next day. And when I read those journals and my thoughts, I'm like, I'm so glad, so thankful today that God didn't listen to who I was back then.
Yeah.
Amen.
I don't have traditional journals. I tried that, but I think
What's
my
tradition?
privacy, like a notebook and the actual journal entry, right? Today I felt, however people do it, my privacy was breached several times. And I'm very so, on the outside, people what's the word I'm looking for? Okay. There are things I keep to myself. I'll say it that way. There are things that I keep to myself. It's not about privacy. I think it's more about um, wanting to guard, just kind of keep safe a certain part. And so when that was violated, it's very vulnerable. I just was like, okay. And I didn't do it for a while. But the way that I journal is I write poetry. So I have a lot of notebooks, with poetry and songs. And I don't like the fact that they're not all in one spot, but I do think maybe that's for a reason. I'll figure that out one day soon enough. But I was cleaning out some papers and stuff as I purged this house, and I found an old notebook from when I was in the 9th grade,
Oh
which
my
is
God.
when I just moved from Jersey to Virginia. And I had some strong feelings about moving down.
I wish mine was.
Yeah. So I safeguarded my stuff because
I lost all of that. Those I would probably weep like a
that would
baby.
hurt. Yeah. I try not to be attached to things, but I do feel like I would be very bothered if something happened, to like those types of personal effects.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that you can't get back, like pictures, you can't get back. I mean, you have the memory, but I think pictures, any type of personal expressions, I do like to safeguard them. And yeah, I don't normally go back and read, but I just knew that I was going to be like the ASCAP super champion. For those of y'all that don't know what ASCAP is, it's like publishing, when you write. So like Candy from Escape, Candy Burst, right? Like she holds that because she's a great songwriter. So I just knew I was gonna be that, and I have tons of songs, and I never really thought too much about it. But I go back and I look at them if they're unfinished, and everything is dated. So one day, somebody wanna do something about me, everything will be dated, and I'll have a nice chronological order. I see my life. It's funny. I see my life as if one day somebody is going to
Gonna be your daughter.
tell my story. So,
Your daughter.
Yeah, somebody. If she wants to, I'm grateful for it. We'll see what happens though. Maybe.
Yeah,
hopefully I'll be alive to see it though.
I always say my girls are gonna fight over my journals because they go so far back, at least to 1996, 98, something like that.
Yeah.
Wow. So Mika, before we go tonight,
yes,
what is the whisper for the week?
Create more joy.
Create more joy.
Right. We don't need no permission. It's something we do internally.
I feel like we need to break down. I know we
most definitely
a little tad bit late, but I think it would be helpful for people to know.
I think it would be too.
Difference. And Yvette, this is a question for you too. But in your own, what's the difference between joy and happiness?
Well, the way I like to remember it is happiness relies on happenings. All right. So you happy because of what happened. a circumstance, an event, an occasion. Joy is internal, right? Yolanda Adams said, this joy that I have, the world they can't take it away because they didn't give it to me. God gave it to you. And he gave us the ability to create more. So happiness, I can have joy and be sad at the same time, right? Because maybe a family member just passed away and I'm sad about that, but I still have internal joy. And I do feel like people, the whisper was inspired by a Facebook conversation. It wasn't really a conversation, it was a comment and a reply. Somebody said, don't let people steal your joy. And I said, nobody can steal it, you give it away. You give it away.
I teach that in anger management.
Yeah, it's a choice. And in so many words, it was like, the reply was, sometimes we let people steal it, but like, yeah, we're saying the same thing. We're absolutely not saying the same thing. If I let you steal something, I gave it to you.
That's
it's
right.
That simple, right? If you come to my house and you ask me for something and I say, no, you can't have that, and you walk out of my house with it anyway, like, oh, well, you let me have it, that means I gave it to you. Otherwise,
you stole it.
You stole it, right? But if I was guarding it, you could not steal it. So if it was in my possession, like my physical hands, the transfer of intangible to tangible is a little bit different here. So y'all stay with me. Something physical, you can, if I'm guarding it, I have it. The only way you take it is, you got to overcome me, right? But I didn't give that to you, okay? You did steal that. But because joy is something internal, intangible, I created it. I have full power over it.
I got
Even
you.
when you overcome me, I still have the choice, right, to create more.
I got it.
It feels simple to me, but I don't know. Did I lose you, Shani?
No, I'm there.
Okay. I'm just like, it's like with women, all right? Like we make eggs, right? Ovaries have eggs. We can donate some and still make more. Like nobody stole it, right? Like maybe we don't have as much as we wanted to have. I don't know. It's probably a horrible analogy. The bottom line is this. Nobody can take your joy. You choose to give it away, right? And there are various ways that we choose to give it away. But I need for people to understand that there are some things that nobody can steal from us. And it's just that simple. It was, it's, what did they say? When you take your vows, like what God has put together, let no man put us under, right? Yeah. It's a choice. So like when your marriage goes awry, it's not about anybody else. It's just about you, the two people that were involved and your choices. So joy is a choice. I have an eternal supply of it. I can always create more. And so when people recognize their position in God and the kingdom, then they can understand their resources and their power. And I think that's usually where we go wrong. We still don't recognize our power, the power that the Creator has given to us in abundance. We keep missing that. And we keep crediting the devil with a whole lot of stuff that he don't deserve credit for. So I get mad about that. I really do. I get mad about it. So create more joy. That's the whisper.
Yvette, what is your definition of joy, the difference between joy and happiness?
Definitely agree with a lot of what she said, because like I kind of said, I actually teach some of what she was saying in anger management. One of my questions on the test is, can anyone make you happy, sad, glad, any of those things? And a lot of people say, yeah, and I go, no.
Nope.
You choose to receive that or let them take that from
There
you.
you go.
If I come home from work and I had a great day and they were playing all the best music on the radio station, and I walk in the house and you in a funky mood, and all of a sudden I start acting crazy like you, I chose to give you my happiness, to let you just take that away from me. It's not something you can really take. So long story short, for me, happiness is joy is present, past, and future. It's a combination of all three. To me, it's something, like she said, internal, that doesn't come from anyone or anything particular. Happiness is for me a right now moment, how I feel right now. It's very temporary. It can be given or taken very easily. But joy is a much deeper personal word, almost spiritual for me, because for me it combines who I was, who I am, and where I'm trying to go.
I love how, because when the part you said about, can somebody make you happy, sad, etc. I think because the narrative has been what it has been for so long, when we encourage and empower people, like when that is the goal, I think sometimes people are confused because, again, they don't recognize their power. I remember working with a client and I was just like, I said, you're in a pilot seat. This is your show. You have the power to, ABC. And they were just like, I don't see that I have the power. I was like, you call the shots. I tell my little female cousins that too, my little girl cousins. I'd be like, hey, you got the power when it comes to dating, relationships and stuff like that. Don't ever feel like somebody else has the upper hand. When we, as a Black female, as a double minority, I think, which is all three of us on this call here, unless I'm not seeing what I'm seeing, but we, of all people, have most likely not been told how powerful we are, right? And so I think that sometimes things sound really foreign to us, okay? But emotional independence is what I've always strived for. I don't want to be, because to me it's like bondage. I don't want my mood to be relying on someone else's mood. I'm happy and I came home and you was in a funky mood. Now I'm in a funky mood. That's funky. That's so nasty. It's like, ew. How did I just give you that much power? You just messed me all up. I was having a real good day today.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean that you don't care, or that you can't relate and that you don't have empathy. Like, none of those things are one and the same. It just means that I'm not emotionally dependent on anybody else. And to be honest, I don't want anybody to be emotionally dependent on me, because that's a whole lot of responsibility, right? I tell my daughter the same thing. She relies on me for a lot. I don't want her to rely on me for her own emotions. She's a very happy, energetic, the glass is always full for her. The sun is always shining. She brings a whole lot of her own joy. That's why I call her, her name is Halo for a reason.
Oh.
I need people to understand that we have complete power.
That's right.
Over our emotions. Emotions are fickle. So, the more emotional intelligence that you gain, like, the better we'll be. I think the quicker we can understand the rebound is a lot with that, it's a lot. And it's something that a lot of households are not talking about either. We got to figure this stuff out. Like, when we become adults and we have these very traumatic experiences that mess us up for half of our lives and stuff, but that doesn't have to be the story. It doesn't have to be the story. Right. We don't have to be jacked up for 25 years and, can't find happiness until you're 65. Exactly. What is that? That's so horrible.
Yep.
It's bad.
Disrupt the narrative.
Yes, please. Please disrupt it. I ain't telling that story.
Jesus wouldn't want that.
No, not at all. Not at all, Shani.
Creating joy.
Listen, Jesus was here for how many years?
33.
Exactly. So when I think about that, for me, that just means like be intentional, be impactful, move with power, move with grace and mercy, and let's get it. Stop making excuses. Do what you need to do. Do what God sent you here to do. That's it. So create more joy. Yeah.
So, I thank you both. Yvette,
Definitely.
thank you so much. You can go to the exchange, Yvette McGill.com for her books and more information. And what's your social media handles? Is it Yvette the Exchange?
Yvette D. McGill hyphen the Exchange.
And Mika, how can
Yes.
people get in contact with you in the social media streets?
Meet Mika Fresh, MEETMIKA FRESH. You'll find me.
And I am Shani McElwain. You can find me at askforshani.com or on anything.
Yep.
Actually, I don't know about askforshani.com. It might forward, but Shani McElwain is fine. I need to get that domain so it can forward to all the other ones.
Yeah.
Ask for Shani on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. This is the Sharing with Shani show, highlighting ordinary people working for extraordinary God, sharing love, light, and life. We have 3 shows left. 3 shows left. 3 shows
Three.
left. 3.
So when you gonna do? You gonna do the 7-day countdown for Wisdom Wednesdays?
I am gonna do a 7-day countdown.
All right. Please tag me.
Mika Fresh is going to be our final guest. You took the last slot. Did you do that?
That was strategic.
Okay, because I wanted you to, and I didn't tell you to, and then you did, and that's why I was like,
yeah.
I know. See,
I was like, I gotta observe and absorb all of this.
Yes, and then we're just gonna bring it home.
Right, we're gonna bring it home.
We're gonna bring it home. So yes, I got great
excited though
of who's gonna start and who's gonna finish. Because by the end of the 8 weeks, Mika, I'm gonna need a psychotherapist. To help me heal.
Yeah. I mean, this topic is needed, it's necessary.
I know.
It really is.
I know.
And it's so touchy.
I know.
Touchy.
But we got 3 shows of this show.
Yes, ma'am.
The show that is just kicking and screaming and keep going. 5 years.
I love it.
So join us next week for our special guest, Michelle Noel Peak. Thank you. God bless you.
Michelle Noel, that sounds very poetic.
Can you move your shirt back so I can read it going out? Disrupt the narrative. That's what we came to do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Love you. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Welcome.